I enjoyed reading a lot. I enjoyed understanding how things work. And that's the thing that's driven me throughout my career. It drove me into physics. I like understanding and boiling down how things work. And then I wanted to try something new. So I learned about economics and trading, and that's what really drove me to then move into crypto around 2016. I'd set up a couple of FX shops before, and I was like, why am I not in crypto? And spent a year learning about it, and then I haven't looked back.
Where did that thirst for knowledge come from? Was it like the house that you grew up in or the school environment?
Yeah, I think the house, right? I think my parents gave me ample opportunity to learn, and my grandparents as well. I think both, one of my grandfathers was an engineer, the other one was a draftsman, so they'd love to sit and spend time teaching their grandkids.
Really? So they're always interested in like how stuff works and you working out for yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my mother's father, like he had a workshop, and my youngest brother adored this. Like he's still got half the tools in his garage. They're almost 100-year-old tools now, but like they're just beautiful things, and dissecting how machines worked, and that you could use that for everything, right? Supply and demand, cause and effect.
And so at what point did you go, I'm going to study physics? Because isn't that the hardest subject you can do at university? And you've gone, I'm going to take that one on.
Like anything, if you're relatively good at it, it's something that you just enjoy, whether it's hard or not. I find writing quite hard. So it would be I would definitely do much worse in a sort of English literature degree than physics. So my choices were maths, physics, chemistry, and so physics and applied maths. So I thought that was almost the best of both worlds.
And then you specialised from that into quantum computing. So how did that spark your attention when you were looking through the degree brochure?
I did well in some of the courses that led up to that. Electromagnetism was one of my favourites, and then, ashamed to say, I just really didn't like doing experiments. So I was like, what are we definitely not going to be building? And quantum computers at the time were one of those things.
So what was going on in the world of quantum computing when you were studying for it? What was the big things in the world?
So this more or less the same, except the practical application, right? So quantum computing relies on being able to parallelly process algorithms. And so I wrote my paper on Shor's algorithm, which is, funnily enough, the thing that everyone worries about for blockchain, because it allows you to factor very high numbers into primes very easily. And so the algorithm was defined by then, and the limiting factor was being able to create that quantum computer. So in simple terms, controlling atoms into a quantum state to act like computer bits. And I think at the time that they could do 1 or 2, and now they're up to like 30 or 40, and you need to get to I think a few hundred to start doing some damage.
Wow, okay. And what was interesting you as a person at the time? Was there other things you were doing around that? Were you very much focused on the physics and the application of it?
No, I think I was a sort of very relatively measured. I played a lot of basketball at university. I played for University of London. I played for Kings as well. That was a passion I still have. And that's enough.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's going to keep you very busy. Yeah. And you're pretty tall as well, so I bet you had a good shot on you.
I always I came out of uni thinking I was incredibly short, because
really?
most of the people I was playing with were 6'6" or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So already we can tell that you've done some cool stuff. So the physics and quantum computing, obviously difficult for most. You found it relatively easy, but interesting. But also it's super relevant into the things that you then went into. So how did that then take you into the world of trading and pit trading, as you explain it?
Yeah, so I mean, graduating in London, obviously finance is the key driver of industry, right? So most jobs are in and around finance, and I was offered a few jobs in risk, modeling, and obviously that's where sort of there's a direct application of physics, right? So they do stochastics, so this is just measuring the speed of movement of pricing. And then there's a thing called Monte Carlo simulations, which everyone talks about, and that was something we did in physics as well. So it's sort of where you sum the volume under a curve to understand more about an equation. And it didn't strike me as the most exciting thing, and I wanted to learn a bit more, and trading's one of those things. And trading firms for sure love physics maths graduates. Because of that sort of ability to try and understand what's triggering things, right? And so for traders, you're always trying to sort of anticipate the next move, right? So it's about looking at a system and looking at key drivers of pricing, and then sort of understanding, right, is this an FX risk? Is FX things moving this? Is this economics? Is this rates? Supply and demand. So that sort of thinking and deconstructing of ideas is something they love, and being very numerate is something that I'm trying to make sure my kids understand as well.
Yeah. So you actually love the idea of taking in a lot of information, analysing it, and then problem solving based on what you're trying to fix or get to. Was there a draw to work in the city as well? I presume is that City of London?
I mean, a few of my friends had graduated early and sort of started going in, and I obviously like the idea of sort of growing up, next stage of evolution as a person, and but starting to sort of earn money and go do other things, right? Like my work I love, but it's not all consuming, right? I like to sort of keep hobbies and passion, and all things like seeing friends, traveling, and this is a great enabler, right?
It's a good point. When I finished my masters, I was from the West Country, so London was a big city for us. We were in Bath, so it was 200,000 people compared to 12 million, and there was such a big draw to go and work in the city and go and visit it, and And when I finished my masters, I was like, I'm going to become a finance bro. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to work in the city and trading on stocks and shares. And I met a few people, went to a few interviews, and very quickly realised that it wasn't going to be for me. It's incredibly all-encompassing, isn't it? There's a few people I met who'd, suffer from alopecia or, things that just are all-encompassing with stress, and you're very much at the bottom of the pile when you start. So it's interesting. I'm interested in your take on it. Like when you were actually in that kind of environment, what was it like to see that? The trading floor or the different departments, how they work together and what everyone was going through?
So the environment was extremely different I was lucky to be at a place that was small, and it was, as I say, run by ex-Pit traders. Many of these guys didn't have formal education. They joined from 16, were very quick with numbers, very quick with sort of picking up, as I say, how things worked, and were just great fun. So a bit boisterous, as we say now, but there's a room full of guys shouting and getting excited, and much like a football stadium, right? People just had fun, and I've carried that through. And you start at the bottom, and you work your way up. Some people aren't as resilient as others. Definitely you get that, but for coming up to sort of 10 years of trading, you then realize as well that to be a good trader, you're not necessarily a good human, because and I think the evidence of this is if you go back to UK and Europe, where you see advertisements for sort of number of traders that lose money in retail products, right? And it's usually like 70-80%, right? And a lot of the reasons for this is the human psyche isn't built to trade, right? And you get things like survivor bias. So you see the wrong people and copy. Lots of people sort of block out a lot of the bad things. So if you make a lot of bad trades, you tend to try and ignore those, and so you fixate on your winning trades. And if you do that, then you become a bad trader, right? So you have to shift the way you think to sort of concentrate on all the negativity, concentrate and make sure that you're keeping that under control, right? It's like risk management. And then to do that, you end up just making decisions very quickly, and always focusing on sort of like negative impact of things. And you know, that just doesn't build nice, happy, positive people.
No, I imagine there's a lot of bias in there. Like I'm just thinking about like survivor bias. Like if you look at all your trades and you look at the green ones, the ones that are doing well, over time you forget the bad ones, and it will just drag you down the wrong route, right? And it maybe, I presume, builds an ego as well, because you also want to be the best in the room or whatever. If you like these episodes, feel free to subscribe to our Healthy Hustle newsletter below, where you'll get behind the scenes information from our guests, as well as from the studio operator who helps us create these cinematic episodes. It's also full of business advice and tips, and it will help you join the community of healthy entrepreneurs.